Are you struggling to run your Spring Batch application on multiple databases at the same time? You're not alone. Today, we're diving into how to run Spring Batch jobs in parallel across multiple databases. I totally get it. Managing multiple databases can feel overwhelming, especially when you want to optimize performance. Many developers face this challenge, and it can be frustrating when you want everything to run smoothly. Here's the specific question we're addressing today. One user created a Spring Batch application with 9 steps using a single data source. They want to run these steps on 4 different databases, which are stored in a 5th database. Sound familiar? Let's explore how to make this happen. So, what's the issue here? The user has a data source configured in their application, but they want to dynamically switch between multiple databases based on settings stored in another database. This requires a bit of configuration and understanding of Spring Batch's capabilities. And stick around. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of how to implement this solution, plus a bonus tip to enhance your Spring Batch performance. To begin, the user needs to create a method that retrieves the database configurations from the 5th database, which is named dbSettings. This method will execute an SQL query to fetch the details of the 4 databases. Next, the user should create a dynamic data source for each of the databases retrieved. This can be done by iterating through the results and creating a data source bean for each database configuration. Now, the user needs to configure the Spring Batch job to run in parallel across these multiple data sources. This involves setting up a task executor that allows for concurrent execution of the batch steps. Finally, the user should modify the job configuration to utilize the parallel execution setup. This includes defining the job steps to run concurrently using the task executor. Fun fact: did you know that Spring Batch was designed to handle large volumes of data processing? It's like having a superpower for your applications. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach involves using the abstract routing data source in Spring. This allows you to define a routing strategy for multiple data sources. First, create a class that extends abstract routing data source and implement the determine current lookup key method to return the appropriate database key based on your logic. Next, register your multiple data sources in your Spring configuration. You can define a base data source and then create specific data sources for each database, inheriting from the base configuration. Finally, consider how to load your data source configurations at startup and how to use these multiple data sources in your Spring Batch jobs. It's important to define a lookup strategy based on your job steps to route to the correct data source. However, be aware of potential limitations, such as cycle dependencies when storing database settings in the database itself. It's advisable to keep these settings in properties files or use alternative approaches to avoid these issues. Here's that bonus tip I promised. Consider using Spring Cloud Dataflow for orchestrating your batch jobs. It provides a powerful way to manage and monitor your batch processes across multiple databases. And there you have it. You now know how to run your Spring Batch jobs on multiple databases in parallel. Remember, optimizing your batch processing can save you time and resources. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks.